We're down one. We are playing the number one team in the country. We're ranked 7th. There is 2 seconds left in the game. They inbound the ball on their end as everyone's walking back this way. I turn around, I catch the ball, step back, shoot the ball, buzzer goes off in the air. Everyone that's watching at home, the internet cut off. So nobody even knows. So it cuts off, and then all you see is everyone rushing the floor.
Hello, Assyrian Podcast family. John in Chicago coming at you with episode 174 with Oditte Odisho. I want you to think back to gym class or PE or whatever it was called when you were in high school. Think of the kid who was the best basketball player in gym class and how they didn't get through tryouts to make the school team. Now try and remember your classmate who could wipe the floor with everyone on the court over summer break, who was on the school team but barely got any playing time. Do you remember the 2 or 3 very best players on the school team? They most likely never sniffed playing college ball or perhaps played in a lower division. Then you look at Division I college rosters that are filled with some of the best talent on earth, but not everyone gets playing time there either. From there, the very best of the best turn professional and play basketball for a living. Oditte was so good that her grade 3 teacher took notice and told her she should play sports. She went on to dominate by the time she was 11, scoring 282 points in 13 games. For those of you without a calculator, that's 21.7 points per game as a 6th grader. It was only up from there with a celebrated high school career which brought multiple city and Ontario championships to the trophy case, and a number of individual honors for Oditte, including 2009 Miss Ontario Basketball and Jordan Classic MVP. Due to a crucial setback, her dreams of playing D1 hoops immediately were deferred. She took the scenic route through college basketball to eventually end up playing in the top division at a top 25 program, no less, with her last 2 years of eligibility. There's plenty more to Oditte than basketball, though. She doesn't have just the physical muscles to be an athlete, but the creative muscles to write poetry and to draw illustrations that go alongside them. These days, Oditte flexes all those muscles in unison as the face of her own fitness brand that inspires women on their fitness journey, and like every other thing she's done in life, she's really, really good at it. You can see for yourself on TikTok and Instagram by following @BodyByOD. Before I make that bounce pass to our conversation, a friendly reminder that if you are interested in sponsorship opportunities with the Assyrian Podcast, please email us at info@assyrianpodcast.com. Also, our shop is live. When you go to assyrianpodcast.com, go to the little hamburger button in the upper left-hand corner, tap or click shop, and take your pick, really, of t-shirts or sweatshirts complete with our sweet logo with that one dude with the great beard and the cool Assyrian shades. Now that I've gone on for far too long, as I always do, I bring to you a conversation I've been wanting to have for nearly 2 years with the coolest person I know, the multi-talented Oditte Odisho. Oditte, welcome back to Chicago. What have you been up to in the last week or so since you've been here?
Hi. I've just been visiting family. I have not been back here since about 4 years ago. Last time I was here for a wedding. So a lot of family. We went to a festival the other day, an outdoor festival. I forgot what it was called. But yeah, just some art shows, and that's it. Art and family. Very quiet trip so far. That's it.
Art and family. It's like your history with Chicago goes all the way back. You're originally from Syria, yes. But when you moved to the U.S., your first stopping ground was Chicago. Yes, tell us a little bit about like those early childhood memories. Do you remember anything at all about like life in Syria particularly?
Nothing particular, like visually. Sometimes I'll get little snippets, but it's scents more so. If I get a scent of a flower or something, I'll ask my mom, did we have a garden or something with this? And she'll be like, oh yeah, we actually did. I remember having a memory of like being out in the stars and just seeing a bunch of stuff, and she's like, yeah, you guys had a bed outside. On the nice nights, everybody used to sleep outside and just kind of look up. So little things like that I'll remember, but One of my first stories coming into the U.S., we got off the airplane. I remember I just got my ears pierced before got on the plane. I was banging my ears around a little bit, so they hurt. And then first time I've ever seen an escalator before. So now, little girl coming up this escalator, about 4 or 5, coming up this escalator, my shoelace gets caught in it. My shoe falls off, and I fall and like skid my knee. So this was like one of my very first memories of entering the States, and I remember just crying and looking at my dad like, I don't like it here. Like, I do not like it here. But that's one of my earliest memories that I can remember of being in Chicago. And then just being around my cousins and stuff, they tell us crazy things like we came here and started eating ketchup packets and things like that. So we hadn't seen things like that. And yeah, interesting to hear stuff about yourself that you don't even remember sometimes.
As a kid, I had this irrational fear of escalators, and nothing ever happened on one. So I can imagine if I was in your shoes and I had a lace stuck in and that made me trip and fall, I would never go on one ever again. I'd be like, I'm taking the stairs or I'm not going.
As you said, in your shoes, I just figured in my shoe, in my one shoe, you would have been knocked over.
So you spent about, 5 or so years in Chicago before moving?
Yeah, right around there, about 4-ish, 3.
So then you find out you're moving to Canada.
Yes.
What's like your overall knowledge about Canada? It's like you're obviously aware at this point it's like a completely different country. Do you understand why you're even moving or where you're moving to?
Literally nothing. We were here for a couple years, and that, like, you don't remember it. Like, looking back, I'm sure in the moment I might have felt something, but here today I don't remember much about it. I just remember them saying we're going, and we went, and it was just that simple. And it was interesting. It was just, I don't know, the transition was very weird. The people were more different than anything. And as a child, we thought Canada, when we heard about it, we thought it was igloos and things like that. Just like cold, cold, cold. We never actually got the time to know people actually live there, you know? But that was the only impression I had of Canada. They said we'd have a lot of family and that it would be cold. Those were the only 2 things that we knew. We weren't even certain what was there.
So was there like a particular reason why you guys had to pack up and move? Or was it like just better opportunities?
Both. You know how it is when coming here as refugees, paperwork and things like that. So we stayed here trying to get the paperwork right, didn't end up getting right. So it was either go back home or get sponsored and go somewhere else, find a different location. So if we could have, we would have stayed here as long as we could have, you know. But yeah, it ended up being that it was paperwork stuff. So it was either go back or keep moving. So we decided to keep moving forward.
So what were your first memories? I'm assuming you're in London, Ontario now, or thereabouts?
Yes, grew up right in London, Ontario. One of my first memories is, my brother's name is Odisho, my older brother. So one of my first memories is getting to Canada, and we're sitting in my cousin Johnny's grandma's house, okay? And Johnny's sitting there, and he's like, dude, you can't have the name Odisho and go to school. We're sitting in the basement, like, what do you mean, man? He was Odisho in Chicago. He's like, no, he can't be Odisho here. So my cousin Johnny decides that we're going to name him Eddie. You're going to go by Eddie. So I remember my brother changing his name.
To Eddie.
Yeah, or getting his name changed to Eddie. That was one of my first memories.
Where did Eddie come from? Like, what was the significance of Eddie?
I think he knew another Odisho that turned into Eddie. You know, certain names turned into other names.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's what it was. So he gave him Eddie, and we all call him Ed from that day on.
So it's like, it's not much of a weather difference, right? You notice a difference in the people. Did you find it like tough at all growing up there, or was it kind of just the seamless, uneventful childhood?
You know what? I didn't speak the language as well, so that was a little bit different. My name also, Oditte. Now let's go first day of school. You're in junior kindergarten, senior kindergarten. First of all, a teacher doesn't know how to say your name, so every first day of school, I would always be so nervous because I knew my name was going to get butchered. First day, they called me Oditte, and the entire class laughed, and I didn't even know that they were calling my name. That's not how well my English was at that time, you know? That wasn't even a good sentence, so it's still not that good, maybe. But yeah, that part. So that kind of stuff, and I just knew that I looked different than everybody else. That was the first time I actually just saw it, because around here I went to school at Budlong, where there was a lot of Assyrians growing up, where I did see a lot of Assyrians. And then, so from Syria, a lot of Assyrians come to Chicago, a lot of Assyrians then go to my school. There was not one other Assyrian person there other than my brothers. So I just saw a physical difference with me. And then just seeing how people interacted, like not knowing the language was very hard. You're not getting picked for an assignment. You're not, just little things like that. But those were the earlier challenges. I remember, this is a really funny story. So in, I think it was like grade 2, I'd yet to actually comprehend the depth of the English language. So my teacher says a question and she goes, if you could be anything, like what would you be? Right? So now we have all these kids in the class with experience, and these kids are like, man, I'd be a doctor, I'd be this, I'd be that, right? And I'm sitting over there, and there's like 7 words that I can select from. One of them is sandwich, so I'm not going to be a sandwich. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, she's like, what would you want to be? And I was like, I knew goldfish. I said, goldfish. So as soon as I said that, the entire class starts laughing, and she's like, oh, what you want to be is a class clown. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a clown this year. That year for Halloween, I dressed up as a clown. Like the depth of this.
Like, literally.
Yeah. No understanding of any of it. And then coming home to tell my parents that, who barely understood as much as I did. You know what I mean? So it was just interesting. Very interesting to sum it up. I could go on with stories about the language and the barriers that it caused between us. I didn't go to school for like the first 7 Wednesdays of school because we had gym, and for gym you had to wear bare feet. I didn't have bare feet. We went to Walmart to look for bare feet. It literally, little things like this that are so comical and laughable now were a struggle back in the day. Yeah, no translation, no Google, no help, no nothing. Bare feet. Tell me what a bear is.
Yeah.
Coming from Syria and here, what is a bear? Right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't think bear and think naked. I think bear and I think roar.
What did your classmates say or think? Like, did they ever ask you, because I know I had this experience growing up, it's like, well, you know, they would always ask you, where's your family from? Did you ever get that?
Yes, I still, even now, like when I say I'm from Syria, oh my God, your English is so good. It's the next immediate follow-up, right? Or they say, how long have you been here? Oh, you don't have an accent. It's always those 4 or 5 things, and then the question shifts from when I say Syria, and then they say, what are you? I'm Assyrian. And they're like, shouldn't you be from Assyria? And then you have to go into that. You know these questions so often. And we actually had a clubhouse about this. Remember? You're like, do we go into depth about when people ask you? So when I was younger, I was explaining my soul to everybody. Oh, we're Assyrians. We're born here. You can find us in the Bible. We started like this. And as I got older, I'm just like, man, just, okay. Yeah, okay. You think I'm that? Okay. That's it.
Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, it got tiring, to be honest. Just the repetitiveness. And I mean, it is our chance to educate, right? It is our chance to open the door for people that don't know about Assyrians to really give them a good first impression. But for me, I just found with what just being young, being an athlete, always being around players, always doing this, always doing interviews, things like that. This question has come up so many times with people. So I'm continuously answering the same question. So it's just like, at some point I get tired.
So like in the middle of your childhood, all these huge adjustments and everything, but at some point in time, you developed this fascination with basketball, obviously. Yes. Tell us about how that started.
This happened outside at recess on grade 3. We were grade 3. We were playing Red Butt outside. You know that game?
I don't think so. We probably played it, but it was called
a different game, yeah. So you throw the tennis ball against the wall, and then it'd come back, but by the time somebody caught it, you have to go run and touch the wall, right?
You know played it.
Yeah, so we used to play that game. So I was outside one day, and I'm just knocking people out. Boom, boom. I grew up with 2 brothers, so just, more of a tomboy growing up. So 2 brothers, I'm outside. We play catch all the time. So I'm outside just railing this ball. Boom, 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 boom. The basketball teacher out there, Mr. Pargeter at the time, comes out there and he's just like, you ever think about playing sports? Like, you got an arm on you. And I was like, no, I don't even know what basketball is. Like, I never played. He's like, come try out for the team. I said, but I'm in grade 3. The team is like older, right? It's like grade 6 and up. I end up making the team. I end up being the captain. By the time my grade, what was it? I think my grade 6 year. So I was 11 or 12. I broke the school record. It was 282 points in 13 games. So something crazy that we hadn't seen before, and I didn't know it at the time. No one even knew it. My parents weren't coming to games. Everyone was just like, who the hell is this little person? Just energy, just going. At one point, I think after I broke the record, I did a round off back handspring on the court, as a 12-year-old kid. Now, kill me. You couldn't pay me money to go do that. I can do it. I can still do the tumble, but I would never do it publicly in the middle of a game like that ever again.
But so you were, the youngest player on the team? I was the youngest player, yeah. So it's so funny how my entire career I was always the youngest player. I always played levels up, but by the time I got to college, so I know we're going to get into this later on in my journey of basketball, but by the time I got into college,
I ended up being the oldest on my team, because in Canada you have the optional grade 13, right? So I did a grade 13, and then I ended up going the JUCO route, the junior college route, and then circling back to that. So by the time I graduated in 2014 with my bachelor's of psychology, and then so I was 24 years old. So at that point, I was the oldest player on the team. Everyone coming in was 1920s and so forth.
And we'll circle back to that for sure. I wanted to, because I'm fascinated by the fact that you had not played basketball up until this point when you were 12. So you're at practice for the first time, and take us through it, because there's certain nuances to basketball that I think the average person who does not watch sports doesn't there's man defense and zone and all this stuff. So this is a super technical question, but when you're hearing all these terms get blurted out, are you like, whoa, what are you asking me to do?
Yeah, you know what? This hindsight, it wasn't good, but right in the moment, it was good that the program that I was in was not that developed. So those words weren't even used. I didn't hear those words till I was in high school. So there came my first what the hell? What is that? That's the first time we actually got real coaching. And this isn't to go to discredit anybody for anything, but all the coaches that I had that were in school were just teachers that did this on the side. So it was never their actual main profession or anything. I started getting real coaching when I started playing OBA, which is Ontario Basketball Association. So just like you guys have AAU.
Yep.
So yeah, so I was the Canadian version of AAU, and that's when I started getting the basketball heads, the old coaches, the former players, and that's when I really started learning those words. And by that point, it was easy for me. My fundamentals were down. It was a gift. Basketball is a God's gift to me. I will say that.
Outside of basketball, describe to me more about this child or teenage version of you. What other interests did you have, or was basketball kind of all consuming?
Yes, basketball was life for me growing up. Every weekend tournament, we're going here, we're going there. I played on 2 different teams. I played on a team that played in the States. I played in the U16 Olympics. We traveled to Cleveland for a week to do that. That was one of the best experiences I ever had. So my whole life was basically basketball, and I was always in the public eye. So there was a bunch of newspaper articles, there was things like that. So I would really try to stay low key when it came to other things. Even when it's not that I wanted to go to parties, I just didn't go to parties in high school. That was just not my thing. I was the jock that didn't do any of that, I wasn't allowed half of it.
Sure.
But I would do certain things, if we went to a party, it depends on who's there. So I would act different depending on my environment of who was there and how well they knew me. So now if I'm in a place where it's all my family and cousins and they're throwing a little party, I don't need a beer bottle in my hand. No one's going to pressure me to drink. No one's going to do anything. But when I'm at a different kind of party and everybody's there, different social settings, and everyone's like, why aren't you drinking? What are you doing? I just have a beer in my hand the entire night and just hold it to avoid the conversation of, why are you not drinking? Why are you doing this? So funny story, one time I'm at a party, my older brother walks in, sees a beer in my hand, literally walks up to me and just slaps the beer right on the floor. He's like, you don't do this. I was like, bro, I know, but they don't know. You can't let them know. So that was one of my first bonding moments with my brother of dude, I know, trust me, I'm not messing this up. I know what I got going on. So very clean kid growing up. Very clean kid.
Are you a Gemini by the way?
Pisces. Very in my head. Very in my head. I always used to say this to my mom. She'd be like, why are you in your room all the time? Why are you in your room? I'm like, I'm here, but I'm not. I go everywhere. I go everywhere in my head. Even though I'm in my bed, I go everywhere in my head. So I never really have to leave. Yeah.
So basketball is kind of this all-consuming thing throughout your teenage years, but looking at all your accolades throughout high school, multiple championships, silver medals, individual awards, when did you begin to understand that you were in elite company at your age group and within Ontario as a whole?
I didn't have anyone around me to basically explain it to me. It was something that I'd always been good at. And I was just continuously good at it. I was number one here. Of course I'm going to be number one there. Of course I'm going to be number one there. It was just a mindset that I had. But nobody around me really knew what was going on. And that's what happened with even the way that I went to junior college. Right? So here I am. I'm breaking this award. I'm an All-American as a Canadian. I'm on the ESPN top recruiting list. My school has never seen that before. So even my guidance counselor at the moment, I'm at a Catholic school. I went to John Paul II. I have 4 years of mandatory religion. So now I signed my D1 scholarship papers. I'm going to Pepperdine University. The city throws me a party. We're having, every restaurant is good luck Odette, represent us, like very big time, right? And then what happens? I get a notice from the NCAA saying you're 4 credits short of playing Division I basketball. I said, well, I did great on my SATs, I did great on my TOEFL, I did great on everything there was to take. What do you mean I'm 4 credits short? I said, well, you're 4 credits short. You should have taken like 4 extra classes to get into a Division I curriculum. So since I took spares my senior year and things like that, my guidance counselor never had anyone go D1, didn't even know to put me on the right track academically to go D1. So now I have this, you know what I'm saying, whole city behind me, everything here. I signed to play at Pepperdine University, and then whoosh, actually, no, you got to go to a junior college. Let's take it back. So now being stripped of D1, right? That accolade alone, like, just kind of started to change my course with basketball. And that was the first time I've ever seen adversity like that. So now I'm, all right, great. I'm going to do my 2 years. I ended up going to Daytona State College. So I go to Daytona State College. Pepperdine is still recruiting me. Mind you, this is when, like, I started really getting into my head about things. What are people going to think about me? Now, I've never worried about that. Now, you know what? I'm supposed to be big time. What am I doing at a little school? I was supposed to be on TV, but here I am. I can't even, my games aren't even advertised here. So it just was that shift of big to small, and going. So now I'm at Daytona State College. Pepperdine is still recruiting me. I can go there after 2 years. RIP, Coach Maurice, he passes away. My recruiter from Pepperdine, so now I'm a free agent. I can either still choose to go there or I can go wherever. We end up winning, we co-championed my first year at Daytona State. I had an ankle injury, ended up playing 9 games and made first team or second team all conference, something like that, just off of 9 games. And then my coach got since we won that year, my coach got a D1 job, so coach left. So I'm like, you know what, this is the second best division. Let me go play in the first best division in the country. So now here I go transferring to Texas. So I'm in Carthage, Texas for a little bit with the school there, Panola. Okay, so I get to Panola now. We're playing in the highest conference in the country. We have a team was, I want to say, last place the year before, something like that. So here we go. This is the year of rebuilding. I had a coach out there that coached Stellato. Like, that woman believed in me more than anything. There was an article when they came out when she actually got me as a player, and she called me God's wink. She's like, that's the player that like, when you've been doing so good for so long, this is the kind of player you get sent. She's like, she's good on the court, she's good off the court, and having someone that, like, believed in you, she believed in me so hard, I believed in myself, that we brought that team up. We didn't finish the best, we didn't do the best, but we got what we wanted out of it. We brought the team up a couple notches, people were doing well, and then I got recruited by a couple schools, and I initially wanted to go to University of Central Florida, and that's where I wanted to go take my visit and everything. I did a couple visits, and then I went to South Carolina as well. South Carolina was interesting. And then when I went to Duquesne, there's all my Canadian girls there. So a bunch of Canadians that went through, loved it, said it was great. We had a bunch of them go pro after, and the OBA program that I was telling you about earlier ended up becoming kind of like a feeder to the school. So all the good Canadian kids were getting recruited and kind of going to the school. So it almost became a Canadian powerhouse for a little bit. So yeah, I ended up at Duquesne for my next 2 years, and stupidest injuries. The most random little things that just continue to happen, just trial and tribulations throughout my entire career. I'm on game 13. I'm going up for a layup against Penn State. Girl hits my hand. I break my 4th metacarpal. I'm out. So I'm out for the season now. I played, 9 games going into my senior year. Come back after this, get a concussion from my own teammate. So I'm out for another 3 weeks. So yeah, the dream was sold separately, we'll say that.
Okay, that was a lot, and I was compelled by all of it, so I didn't want to cut you off. And that's great, but let's rewind, okay. Right?
Yes.
So you're done with high school.
Yes.
You're being recruited by Pepperdine University, which for our folks listening at home, that's in Malibu, California. It's Division I. Is anybody else, like, first of all, without even mentioning anybody else, how was that working? Were there coaches and people in Malibu, California watching videotape of this girl playing in Canada?
Absolutely.
Or were you sending your tape to them?
No. So again, I had zero help in any of this. So like, I didn't outsource. I didn't reach out. I couldn't ask my parents. There was no one that I really knew that did this. But I did know a girl that went to Pepperdine. So Miranda I.M. is her name. She ended up playing in the Olympics. She's Canadian All-Star, one of my girls. But yeah, so she had a good eye out for me, and she's always like, you're my point guard, I want you out here. So she kind of put the bug in there, like, we got some good Canadians, go check them out. And sure enough, they were out there, I think, recruiting somebody else, and then saw me playing. We're like, who's this? And she's like, it's the one I was telling you all about.
And like you said, unfortunately, your high school guidance counselor, they're used to just like graduating kids and making sure they get into college, like just on a regular basis.
Exactly.
Let alone D1 at athletics.
Yes.
So they kind of fumble that situation. You're 4 credits short. You mentioned going to Daytona State. And meanwhile, Pepperdine is still keeping an eye on you. They're like, we want you here as soon as you get your credits and your JUCO time and everything like that. But the recruiting coordinator, the coach that was recruiting you specifically, passes away.
Yes.
So then what happens? Does the interest just drop completely?
They're interested and drop, but mine did.
Ah.
You know? I was going there heavily in regards to the coach. And he was the assistant coach. But he was a celebrity gospel mentor. He was just big on religion. So very, like, Pepperdine is a Catholic school. And just, man, he wrote a book. He's a very special guy. And again, his name is Coach Maurice. He wrote this book called The Price of a Pearl. And it's just basically, he's always helped women his entire life. His mom was a single mom. So when he became a mentor, it was always towards women. And things like that, so just carried on the career. So this book that he wrote, it's called The Price of a Pearl, and he gives it to all of his players and everybody, and it's just talking about how women are just so rough on themselves and so tough on themselves, but what does a pearl start off as, right? It starts off in the clam, and it takes time, and it gets rusty, and it gets dirty, and it just things like that. So just kind of finding faith through womanhood, through divinity, and growing like that. So it was just him that really drew my spirit there, and once that left, it was just, I felt different. I felt like before my answer was clear. When he passed, my answer was not clear anymore. And I just felt lost for a second. It didn't feel good. Before it was a sure answer. Sure went to maybe, and that's when I knew something had to give.
So tell me more about when Coach Maurice reached out to you. You're obviously, playing in Canada. This coach either, I'm assuming, gives you a phone call, sends you a letter in the mail and says, hey, we're interested. What's going on in your mind when you get those letters?
So I got my first letter. They're not allowed to recruit you till you're in grade 11. So I got my first letter in grade 11, and I was like, it was like from a D3 school. I was like, oh man, like this is insulting, but like kind of cool. I never got one of these before, right? Next thing you know, mailbox, full. My mom still has every single one of them, by the way.
That's good.
Half them unopened, some open, some I'm not even interested in. So when I first got them, I was like, oh my God, yes, took some as insults. Then I was like, no, just the more that came in, the better that it appeared for other schools, right? Because this is what schools would do. The internet wasn't prevalent like that back then, right? So when they're calling you, like, oh, is anyone else recruiting you? So you can either make yourself appear, and then they're not going to call the other. But anyways, we never got into those games and whatnot. But when he was recruiting me, like I said, he was one of the main reasons. I forgot your original question behind this. What was it?
Just what was going through your head when you got that first letter from Coach Maurice in particular? Like, what drew you to him?
So that, Pepperdine was D1. Okay, so that was like one of my initial first D1s. Then I knew a girl that played there. So now I'm like, okay, I have somebody that vouches for the program, because I was scared to leave home. I'm 17 years old, 18 years old. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to go somewhere where I know someone. But they told me that they would be watching my silver medal OFSA game, which is like a state championship. So I knew every coach was watching that game. Everyone that had recruited me that year was watching that game. It was my senior year. Little victory moment here. I'm glaring saying this. 2 seconds left in the game. We're down 1. We are playing the number 1 team in the country. We're ranked 7th. There is 2 seconds left in the game. They inbound the ball on their end as everyone's walking back this way. I turn around, I catch the ball, step back, shoot the ball, buzzer goes off in the air. Everyone that's watching at home, the internet cut off. So nobody even knows. So it cuts off, and then all you see is everyone rushing the floor. So my brothers are at home like, who won? But yeah, so that was the tape that really sent it off. And then my OBA coaches were like, oh yeah, we're sending this out. Yeah. So then they start sending that out. I ended up being the MVP at the Jordan Classic, and then all that. So it just led, one thing kind of spiraled into Everything
And then you
else.
mentioned Daytona State College. From what I gathered on your bio on the Duquesne website, you only end up playing like 9 games there. Was that just like a shortened season? Did you get there late? What was the whole story behind that?
I ended up injuring my ankle there.
Oof.
So I injured my ankle first. I wanted the first couple of games. And you said, what, I played like 13 games or something like
Yeah,
that? Something,
9
games?
I think, yeah.
Something even lighter. Yeah, 9. I think 13 was at Duquesne. But yeah, so 9 games. Hurt my ankle, but I ended up, like I said, making first state, all conference, things like that. And we ended up championing that year.
And so that's obviously just a short-lived experience. It's that one season. And then you mentioned going to Panola College in Carthage, Texas. And I made a note here for our listeners who are not aware. Carthage is very famous for a murder that took place there, which was later the subject of the film Bernie, starring Jack Black. So I just Google that on your own time. It's a crazy story. Watch the movie. I wanted to get that out there. So I'm thinking this is your first time in Texas, living in Texas, so tell us about that whole experience.
It was very interesting. Texas, so I lived in, if you talk about Dallas, Texas, completely different experience than what I lived in. I lived in a dry town of Carthage, right? We call it the 10-minute town. From one side to the other is 10 minutes. So this Bernie thing was crazy at the time. It was insane. They knew him. There was like 3 churches in the area, so they knew who this guy was. And everybody would say it was the craziest thing because after he was found guilty, there were still people that would be like, oh no, he's good, man, he's good. So interesting to see that some of the town people were still like, what he did wasn't that bad. And, it was just wild. Interesting, different side. But yeah, it was a dry city. It was just weird. One big Walmart. That's it. One big Walmart, and they called it Wally World. It was like an experience. People would go to Wally World.
And so you were talking about your different experiences. So you've bounced from Pepperdine as your destination. Then all of a sudden it's not. You transfer to Daytona State. Then you go to Panola. At this point, when you're bouncing it around, do you find it like really tough on you mentally, or do you kind of see the silver lining in it all? Like, what's your mental process throughout all of this?
It's a hint of both. When we're winning and everything is going great, silver linings and gold medals all over the place, right? Then when it's going bad, hey, did I really make the right decision? Did I do the right thing? Should I be here? But I chased number one for a really long time. I had this competitive nature in me, and to be completely honest, I've lost it as I've gotten older. I wanted to beat everybody growing up, and I lost that competitive nature almost my senior year. There was a part in me where I was like, man, I want to help these girls that are doing it wrong rather than beat them, and my competitive nature almost switched as I got older, and it wasn't as fun for me anymore, but I still loved the sport. It was art to me. It was art.
But you mentioned switching your kind of competitive streak, but in the middle of this, you're still kind of in the you want to beat everybody phase. So I guess that takes us to, Division I college basketball finally comes knocking again, I should say, right, in the form of Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yes, sir.
How did they enter the fold? You mentioned a little bit in an earlier response, they're recruiting a lot of the Canadian players, so it's almost like a little Canadian team.
Exactly.
Was that kind of just their recruiting mentality, or was that just coincidence?
This is when it started becoming cool to recruit Canadians, right? Because for a while, no one was coming to Canada. And again, like basketball, we're talking like, realistically, like we were kind of the pioneers of the D1 era, that not even D1, the scholarship era. Maybe they started giving out scholarships 10 years before us. So this was just very new. We kind of paved the way. So no one even knew what we were really doing at that time. No one even knew. I was up for Hall of Fame in Canada, and I didn't even know because what we did was so big, but none of us knew the scale of what we were doing until later on.
So who reaches out to you from Duquesne specifically?
So we are at a state championship game now. We're not in the championship. We're just at the state championship tournament. And we got a bunch of recruiters there. Some of them are allowed to talk to you. Some of them are not. I ended up getting an email from Coach Dan Burt at Duquesne saying, I saw you out there. It was impressive and this is that. And at this point, zero interest for me in Duquesne. I want to go to University of Central Florida. I've got my letter there. I want to visit there. I got my, Duquesne just happened to offer my visit first. So I didn't even want to take my visit, if I'm being completely honest. I didn't even want to do it, but everybody around me thought it was a good idea. It's about 5 hours from where I grew up or to the border of Canada, right? So your parents can come watch. It's closer, this, and that. Canadian feeder school. All my girls that played OBA with me are now playing there, so kind of incentive. And honestly, it made a lot of sense to do it. It made a lot of sense, and it felt right in the moment. But if I say that, it felt like the right decision to make for everybody else. This meant I was closer to my mom. This meant I was not disappointing my coaches in continuing this feeder program. They did need a point guard, whereas I might have been the backup point guard on the other team, things like that. So I went to a place where they, quote unquote, needed me. But Duquesne was fun, man. We had good times. And I just miss the sisterhood. Like, we couldn't get away from these girls. In the time, it was annoying, you know what I mean? It's like, man, I see you 24/7. It's practice, it's lunch, we live together, we're on the bus together. But you really miss that sisterhood as an adult.
And you seem just very self-aware with yourself and what you could have and should have done in the past. So naturally, you majored in psychology.
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Well, hindsight is 20/20, right? I try to figure everything out. That is my brain's quirk. I want to fix things. I don't want to fix things with my hands. I want to fix them mentally. I want to take them apart before I put them back. But again, not with my hands. I've never had that. I want to break it down mentally before I go anywhere else. And that was it. I just felt like growing up, we all had our family issues, and we have everybody's something wrong with everybody. So I always thought, you know what? I'm going to be the Mrs. Fix-It. We don't have a Mrs. Fix-It. We don't have anybody in the women's field that's doing psychology, this, and that. And I started going into that. But it was school that just wasn't for me. I had a very tough time wrapping myself around the concept of school. And it started my freshman year of college. My freshman year of college, I was a 4.0 GPA student. Great. Second year, 4.0 GPA student. Great. Third year, I get to Duquesne. And I'm just like looking around. I'm looking in my class. I'm like, man, I just saw that girl last night. Like, she was wasted, messed up. I don't even know if I can say this, like railing coke, you know what I mean? And that girl's going to be my doctor. She's going to be my lawyer. We're all in the same class. So, and guess what? That girl is book smart. So that girl really is getting an A, but in real life isn't getting anything, right? So that's where I started to realize, like, man, you can be really book smart and not be life smart. So that's when I started losing kind of like my respect for school. Like, what am I really doing here? And I knew it was like a force for women to be in there for the 4 years, right? So you had to bribe me in the beginning to even like it. But once I saw that it didn't matter, that I could graduate with a C or with an A, and that these people next to me are going to be my doctors and my pharmacists, I knew I didn't belong there anymore.
So, like, you already had this kind of outside pressure to attend school at Duquesne to be closer to home and for various other reasons. Did you get a lot of pressure at all for majoring in psych? Like, did your family go like, hey, how come you're not pre-med or pre-law or anything like that?
Well, it was funny because when I initially signed to Pepperdine, I wanted to do their fashion program. So when I said that, my coaches were like, are you serious? You're going to go to school for clothes? Like, they didn't understand, right? And now look at the fashion in California. Look at that market, right? But yeah, it was not respected. It was not looked at anything. And then when I said I wanted to take psychology, to be honest, I got two answers. One of them generally was, that's dumb, because it's really kind of like broad, right? And then the second one is, well, you can't do anything with it unless you continue your education. So those were the two things that I kept getting from out of that. But I just, again, I'm a very intricate thinker when it comes to this. So I'm sitting here now in my psychology classes, and I am learning the psychology from the 1500s, from the perspective of a white male. I did not read one woman's opinion in my psychology class. In my undergrad, not one theory did I learn from a woman, nothing. And not even people of color, nothing, nobody. So psychology to me was Freud. Like, you know what I mean? I just couldn't stay looped into this. I knew there was much more than this for me.
I mean, you do graduate, so you got your bachelor's in psych, despite getting this like Eurocentric, male-centered education that you completely despised. So as the old heads say, which I guess now we're technically the old heads here, but you have the whole world in front of you. You're graduated. Yeah. What options were you considering at the time?
So this is the time where history repeats itself in my life. here we go again. Just finished, graduated. Now it's time to go pro. We're getting in my tapes. We're doing all this. I'm getting good looks. I'm about to sign my paperwork to go play. We get a phone call saying my mother is sick. So now what? Do I go halfway across? My brother's in school. My older brother's in school and taking that med program, doing the good things, right? So now what do? I gave it up. I always say family over everything, and this was my time to prove it. If all is well and I'm winning championships and my mom ain't good, what the hell is that for me? Right? It was
right.
The decision was simple. The consequences were not. Right? Like seeing it, my mom or anything, my mom never have questioned, don't even ask, you know? It's just that simple. But like I said, the consequences afterward of not going pro, I felt like a failure. It was me. And I come to a city where I didn't even grow up in. So I grew up in London, and my mom had moved to Windsor at the time. So now I'm coming back here to a place that I don't even know. So I'm there, and I'm really just like, what the hell is next? I had never pictured my life without basketball. I knew until maybe just 30. You know, at 24, I graduate 2-3 years, then I'll figure it out from there. I never made a plan B for my plan A, because I knew if I did, I wouldn't execute plan A. I didn't make plan B, but plan B chose me this time, you know? And that's just kind of how it happened.
And so you mentioned like you wanted to help other girls and stuff like that. By the time your like competitive drive to be better than them transitioned into wanting to be more of a supportive role.
Yeah.
So did you ever consider coaching or anything like that?
Yes. And I'm going to like challenge you a little bit with that. So when I say like I stopped being competitive with them, I began to be really competitive with myself. It was me versus me every day. Before I enjoyed getting my opponent, then I realized I am my opponent. I'm my only opponent. So I started, like I said, battling myself through these days, trying to figure out what was going on. I definitely will get into coaching. And as of right now, I feel like since my chapter with basketball just did get snipped, it's not a love-hate. There's an emotional part of like even saying this, there's an emotional side of the game for me, you know? So I definitely will get into coaching, but I think it'll be later on when I have kids. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So basketball is over with.
Yes.
What's the first thing you do to make a living after college is done?
So I didn't even know where to start. But when I went back to Windsor, Windsor is the third highest unemployment rate city in Canada. Okay, it's if you look up Windsor, they call it the armpit of Canada. So not many good things to say about that. So even finding a job, like I think I applied at a library and they told me I was overqualified to work at a library. Yeah, so like I was literally trying anything at that point, and I think my first job there was like at the mall. So I'm at the mall, and my brother ends up coming back home from school, and he gets a serving job. So he's actually tableside cooking and doing things like that. And here comes my arrogant self from school, right? He's like, why don't you just like wait tables and stuff? I was like, you think I'm gonna clean up people's spit and their food? This is what I'm thinking. Like, dude, we had people do that for us all through college. You think I'm gonna reverse the role and come here and be that? I said, you're crazy. He comes home one night, he's like, hey, I made this much. I was like, you're still crazy. I was like, you're still a little crazy. So after a while, he's like, dude, just give it a try. Like, just give it a try. So I ended up getting into bartending for a long time. And ironically enough, my very first day, I don't even know what a rum and coke is. A lady orders a rum and coke to me, and I'm supposed to go tell now my bartender, right? Because I'm a server in the beginning. And so I go tell her, I was like, the girl wants a rum and a coke. And she pours me a rum and a coke. So I take these to the girl, and the girl's like, are you dumb? I wanted a rum and coke. Like, it was so...
Just in two separate glasses, not mixed together, but literally a rum separate from a coke. That is hilarious.
Yeah, so needless to say, I excelled on later there. But the beginning was a little rough.
So you mentioned, like, we kind of jumped to 2020 now. You've taken this path that leads you to being the director of fitness at LA Fitness.
Yes.
Like, do you want to give the background on how you got up to that point?
Yeah, so ironically enough, I was training the Princess of before that. So I had just done a 3 to 4 month internship with her as like a live-in entourage, and we were in Switzerland. We stayed in France for a bit, and just kind of back and forth.
Hold on, the Princess of...
There's like, mind you, there's like 3,000 of them.
Yes,
so
of course.
one of them.
But how do you even get into that?
Through family. Okay, well, some of our family had worked for them in prior years and things like that, building houses, stuff like that, and then they put a note out. So if the princess wants a personal trainer, the ad is not going to go on Craigslist, yes. Right? So it's just like in family house, stuff like that. So they asked a bunch of people, does it word of mouth, does anyone know anyone who's into fitness and things like that? So a bunch of people submitted their resumes, and then she was just like, I like this girl. Because she ended up mastering, or I don't know if she mastered or got her undergrad, but she was in psychology as well. So she was like, I like that. This is what sets her aside from everybody. So I was training the princess, and then I went from bartending to princess. Not the real,
one she of was the princesses, yes.
Yeah. So I went from bartending to the princess, and then when I came back, I was like, man, I don't know what to do. Like, I've always loved fitness. I've always worked. Mind you, I've stayed consistent in the gym this entire time, right? And I worked as a personal trainer while bartending. Okay, so I train in the mornings and then bartend at night. So it was always kind of there, but I just never took it seriously. And then slowly but surely I get to, after coming back from the princess, and I was like, I need to find something secure job-wise. Mind you, I could have worked with her and made great money, but it wasn't happiness for me, right? So when I came back, I just wanted to get into personal training. So I went and I did this interview, and the boss was like, oh no, like, we're not going to take you as a trainer. He's like, you're a seller. And I'm telling him, I was like, I've never sold anything in my life. Like, I hate sales. I don't want to be into sales. He's like, oh no, you're going to sell and you're going to be great. And I'm just like, no, stuck on no. So he's like, all right, we'll hire you on as a trainer then. I said, okay. So as I'm doing my paperwork, as I'm, I got to take a bunch of exams, I got to pass some tests to get all this. And he's just telling me the whole time, he's like, don't do it. Just work with me. Just work with me. Trust me. Work with me for 1 month. Work with me for 1 month. So I'm like, you know what? I was like, okay, I work with you for 1 month. It sucks. You're going to transfer me to training? He says, yes. No problem. He puts me in this position. Within a month, I sold 3, 4, 5 personal training packages. Sold the company about $15,000 to $20,000 worth of training. So impressive for them. But for me, I was like, I don't even want to do this. This doesn't feel genuine to me. And not that it wasn't genuine. I just didn't like selling people because I didn't get to train them afterwards. So I'm selling you on something else, and then you don't get to see me after, right? I'm just the midman.
Yeah.
So I put myself in a reverse position. That if I met you and I love John and John sold me on this, and then you're like, hey, you're going to work with Rex, I'm going to be like, what the hell?
What happened to John?
Yeah, exactly. So it was that kind of thing that kept happening. So I told him, like, okay, you know what? Maybe I will, maybe I'll stay in the sales position, maybe not. So literally like a month, I was like, okay, I'm going to give I'm done. I'm going to go into training. I end up having this like rocket month where they're like, all right, you're doing way too good. We actually want to promote you and give you an assistant position at a different gym. So now they're moving me as assistant. I went from selling personal training to being the assistant director of training in less than 6 months.
Wow. Like
4 months, I think something. I think I got I started in September, October, November, December, January. Yeah, by January. Yeah, month 4, yeah. Month 4, I was transferred into my assistant role. And then did well as the assistant there, and then someone was leaving a new gym, and I was like, you know what? Let me go be the head over there. So I applied for the head position. They gave me the head position. It was in Aurora, Toronto. I ended up buying my first condo out there, and just was like, you know what? This is it for now. Buy that condo, 2019. Bought in November. Come 2020, here come pandemic.
There we go. So, and at that point, obviously the world shuts down. You have clients that are still reaching out to you. I'm assuming for you're still training people, so they're looking for workouts?
So
or is
this
that
is the thing.
Work?
I'm not even training anybody, right?
Okay.
I am the director of the sellers. So I have a sales staff of 7 men and women that sell personal training, and then I have 40 sales staff that actually train these people. Okay, so now these guys are training them. So I have all these 40 trainers, clients messaging me because I'm the overseer, saying, hey, why is LA Fitness still taking my money? Why are they still charging me my membership? Why are they still charging me personal training? And I'm like, literally nobody knows what's going on at this point, right? LA Fitness doesn't know, that CNN, nobody knows.
Yes.
It's
right.
Our first pandemic,
right.
Being
right.
a part of. So I was telling them, I was like, you guys just bear with me. I'm gonna communicate with you guys as well as long as LA's communicating with me. I'm just gonna keep passing everything on to you guys. So it goes like, we're going to shut for 2 weeks, right? So, okay, no problem. 2 weeks, they open up for like, what, a day or two, and then it goes back to like mandatory shut. So now these emails are starting to get nasty. You said you were going to handle it, and LA hasn't even responded yet. So I'm like, you know what? I got to do something. So I'm like, I'm just going to make some videos in the meantime just to get people off my back. I'm going to make some workout videos for the next 2 weeks. Keep you guys happy, keep you guys motivated. Don't lose your motivation. We'll be back in 2 weeks. This thing's going to be done. So I made those videos, and I put one on. I had no intention of doing any of this. I shot all the videos from my neck down. So I had no intention of being where I am now. All my videos.
So before this, like, you had no thoughts about being a content creator. This was strictly bore out of like, I need to do something to get these people out of my inbox.
So yes and no. When I first finished college, I thought about it. When I first finished it, I was like, you know what, maybe I could do this. And I started like going on trips and like being a little blogger and things like that. My Instagram started growing and things like that. And I was like, this wasn't sustainable. So that thought of like being a creator and things like that, it was there. I just never put it into life. So now I'm good at things like that. I'm good at tech and things like that, art, creative vision. So now flash forward, I'm making this video. I'm making this ab workout video. Okay, so again, neck down, ab workout video. I post it. It's like, it gets like 500 views, but I have 0 followers. So I'm like, dude.
And this is on what platform?
TikTok. So, and dude, I'm on TikTok because of Gary Vaynerchuk yelling, get on TikTok. TikTok ain't for dancing people. It ain't for da-da-da-da-da. You could be 30, 50, da-da-da. So Gary V literally he used to do Tea with Gary V at 9 a.m. during the beginning of the pandemic. So he was like, get on TikTok. So finally I was just like, you know what? I'm going to appease these guys and get on TikTok. So I make that video, neck down, nighttime, 500 views. I have 0 followers. So amazing that 500 people saw my stuff, right? I posted like at 7 p.m. or something like that. Put my phone away, eat something, come back, I pick up. It's like 8,000 views. I'm like, wow, I have like 100 followers in like 10 minutes. This is amazing. Now I'm going to sleep, and I go to sleep, I think it was like around 10,000 or something. It got quiet, right? I woke up 180,000. I have 5,000 followers. I'm like, what?
And that's in what, 8 hours, just
Literally,
about, less?
Yes. So now I'm like, what the heck? Like, what is this? So now I make this video. I think now is at 1 million views, but at that time it stopped at 798K.
Wow.
Yeah, my first video 798K, and then so that's how it started. Literally.
So obviously you keep building this huge TikTok following. It blends, like, it crosses over into Instagram and everywhere else. So up until that point, or what happens next rather, 2021, Yahoo features you as one of the top influencers to follow. Did they notify you beforehand, or was it a surprise? Like all of a sudden someone's like, yo, you're in a Yahoo article. Did you know this was going to happen?
No, they told me.
They told
me,
okay.
yeah, they asked if it was
So, like,
okay.
what's going on in your mind when you achieve this accolade, and, like, how much does your brand explode after that?
So, again, this is me being, like, number one. I genuinely tend to not appreciate things in the moment and appreciate them after. I'm like, this is what's supposed to happen. You put in hard work, you get the results. You know, it's not that grateful mindset of, oh, man, I'm here. You know, it's like you do it and this is the outcome of hard work. So I never really celebrated anything ever in my life, anything good. I'm like, this is just an outcome, right? That's how I see it. Now with that, campaigns start to come in. Hey, can you work with us? Can you do this? I did breakfast television twice. Did a couple ads for some companies' commercials, things like that. And that's when it started taking off. Breakfast television was huge for me, and if for the listeners who don't know what breakfast television is, it's Canada's version of Good Morning America. So I did 2 5-minute segments on there. They loved my first one so much they brought me back a couple months later by like fan demand. So it was really cool. And then my socials started blowing up and things like that. And even, again, remember when I said I didn't do this in the beginning to like really embark on this path?
Yeah.
I didn't even make an Instagram yet. So my TikTok was just going. I had my TikTok for over a year. I made my Instagram in 2021. So within 3 months of having an Instagram, I was one of the number one influencers. You know, so it was strange from the outside, but behind the scenes, that was really what was going on.
So TikTok's more obviously like people quickly going through videos and everything, and Instagram tends to be a little more personal, I guess. So like take us through. It's like between the TikToks, Then like now you got to do Instagram Reels, which I suppose like you could just take your TikToks and make them Reels. But then there's like all the bots on Instagram going DM me to collaborate, and you don't know who's real and who's fake. Legitimate collaborations, sponsorships, businesses. Like, how do you juggle all of that? How do you know who to trust, who you can do business with, and like who's not legitimate in that space?
It really is trial and error, and it's hard. Right now, I'm my own content creator, I'm my director, I'm my customer service person, I'm my videographer, I'm my editor, I'm when I do collabs with clothing companies, I'm my fashion buyer. So now you give me $2,000 stipend, I'm fashion buying for the next 2 or 3 hours of what can I choose from here, so everything comes down to like a 15-second video, and it's so glamorous and nice, but like there's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes that's never seen. And even comparing Instagram and TikTok, when you go on TikTok, I love TikTok for its authenticity. You swipe on TikTok, you're in somebody's trailer house. You swipe again, you're in somebody's mansion. You swipe again, you're on the back of a horse. You swipe again, you know what I mean? You're always somewhere on TikTok. When you go to Instagram, you're in a beautiful, visiting, traveling, a lot of money aesthetic. So for me, the aesthetic of Instagram versus the aesthetic of TikTok, I'm so much more towards TikTok. I'm so much more towards the natural self of just like, hey, get on here with no makeup. Hey, get on here, say a swear word.
Yeah.
Say it, just be yourself. Be more, I feel like TikTok is more authentic than Instagram. That's it. And
then in the middle of all of that, you kind of reach this level of a legitimate influencer. Yahoo says so. Yeah. So I asked you earlier in regards to basketball, like when did you realize that like you got kind of arrived? When did you realize you were good? And you answered that basically you kind of didn't because you didn't have anybody telling you that.
Yes.
But now you have people telling you like you're a legit influencer, you've made it. So how is your mindset now in comparison to how it was when you were an award-winning basketball player?
I didn't believe them when they told me I was great then, and I don't believe them when they tell me I'm great now, John. Everything good or bad holds no space in between my head. Good, thank you, good, out. Bad, come in, good, out. It is that. I will consider myself a successful influencer when I have influenced the 5 people I love most to put their health first and foremost. That is when I am a real influencer. You can see me and watch my videos and do all this. You can feel great, but if you don't put it into action, people have said to me, you've motivated me. But that doesn't mean I've made you start. Starting is what I want to get people to do. Just start. Just start. That's it. So that's when I consider myself successful. Yahoo can say it, my mom can say it, your mom can say it, but until the 5 people I love most are the healthiest versions of themselves, and I have played a role in that. And again, we'll use my mom as an example. My mom can't be the best worker if she's not in her best health. She can't be the best mother. She can't be the best sister. And health is our main essential form of humanity. Without that, you have nothing else. So for me, successful influencer, the 5 people I love most are healthy.
So what comes next? You've influenced the 5 people, and then beyond that, obviously. So what, like beyond the content creation, what's next kind of like in the pipeline of your brand? I really, even like the term influencer is strange for me, because I think I just live how I want to, and people do get influenced by that. Some people, you can call it whatever you want, but I just don't like the title. I feel responsibility when I hold that, and I don't want that responsibility. But what comes next for me is I will hold the title of entrepreneur. I don't want this fitness. This isn't the beginning, and this isn't the end of me either. Fitness is my footstep in the door, whether it leads to a podcast, whether it leads to a clothing line, whether it leads to my own gym, so this door, I've even thought about even how cool it will be for when I do get married and have kids, how cool it'll be to document working out pregnant, right? And then getting that weight off. So this journey as fitness will always be, I feel like, a part of it, not because that's how it started, but because it's a part of me. Fitness is a part of who I am. And yeah, that's where I plan on going. And then you still bounce back between Canada and the US a lot. Being from Syria and being a Syrian specifically, but also having this well-traveled North American life experience. How much do you identify as a Syrian, and how much do you identify as Canadian or even American? Interesting. I identify 0% as American.
Sorry.
I mean, you spent a blip of time in America, so I can't blame you there.
Yeah, I don't associate any of my identity with America, and even Canadian. I like when people say like, "What are you?" I've never said I'm Canadian. You know, like of course, what's your passport? That's when I say Canadian. But I identify the most with being in Assyrian. I always have. There's something about your blood. There's something about using your own language. There's something about saying "skidli" instead of "I'm mad."
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's just there's something about our own blood that has been inside me, and I got my left arm says so.
There
so
you go.
I got the mark to prove it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you still follow basketball? And if you do, why are your favorite teams the Chicago Sky and the Chicago Bulls?
I used to follow very, very heavily the years the Raptors won. Post Kobe, Kobe was my guy. So post Kobe basketball took a hit for me. We had a little stint where the Raptors were doing good, and that's when I kind of came back into the cycle of it, but I've never gotten back into the full swing of things at all. I was staying out in Atlanta for a couple months, so we got to the Hawks games a lot. But if I have to choose, I'm going to go with my Canadian squad, my one and only. I'm going to choose my Raptors.
For sure, of course.
Yeah.
I was obviously joking about the Chicago teams, but we briefly discussed going to a WNBA Finals game because I thought the Sky were going to make it back, but they lost in the semifinals. So now it's between Connecticut and Las Vegas. Any rooting interest in that finals matchup at all? Me too.
I can't even lie. Zero.
And we were just talking about
good.
how health and fitness are obviously super important to you. So, like, professionally, do you see yourself, and this is kind of doubling back to a couple of questions ago that I asked. I kind of forgot that I had this jotted down here. But professionally, do you see yourself in that space exclusively? You mentioned, like, branching out into fashion and doing other things. But do you ever get that itch to try something, I'll reword it now, an itch to try something completely different?
Hell yeah. That's the creative in me. There's so many, I can't tell you how many times I've dropped my life and started it over. Like my friends will tell you, like, I have never lived a normal lifestyle. If I'm unhappy at my job, I'll quit. I don't sit there and say, oh my God, I hate this. I hate it. And if I hate it, I'm quitting and I will find what's next. I've always had that hustler mentality, but for me, it's like not even seeking happiness. It's just seeking comfort. Right? And I don't think money will bring the comfort. I don't think that. But when I do work, I feel satisfaction. When I have done an honest day's hard work, I can lay my head happily. You know? It's just those little things. But yeah, I can see myself just giving this all up and just trying something new. And don't be surprised if that's the case in 5 years. In 5 months.
Yeah.
You never know with me, man. You never know.
That.
And I'm open. Yeah.
Do you ever have any like random ideas kind of bouncing around in your head? Like, man, I should probably like write a book or something.
I've had 3.
3.
I've completed 3.
You've this one snuck up on me. This was nowhere in the show notes or the bio, or you've written 3. I have completed 3 poetry books. Wow. Yes. So are they? Is this like just a collection of poems? Yes. It started off as journaling, regular entries, writing about my day as a kid. Today I went to school, today I did this, slowly but surely, and I just started writing little thoughts or little spurts of moments that really stuck out to me, or things that would make me remember a moment. And I remember actually this time being like, man, you never know when you're about to make a memory. You know it later on, right? You're not, so I started becoming more conscious of like my living experiences. Like, man, this game is not just a game that we're making this memory for life. Let's make the best out of it. So I would literally just start writing down little things, little quotes here and there, and it ended up being very like therapeutic. And then when I started sharing them, that's when like I didn't think I was like, I knew I was good, because I'm good to me because I understand me. No one's going to understand me better than me, so I'm automatically good. But when it started connecting with other people, when I was like, there might be something here. And growing up, my mom was a poet. She's won awards, millions of awards. Wow. And things like that. Yeah. She won a National Writers Poets Society award one year. She had a poem called Valentine in Court. Yeah, so the writing comes from amazing. Yeah, my mom, but that's why I say, like, do not be surprised. That's another thing that I want to do, but I draw and illustrate in my books as well. So another thing I did not know about. So how long have you been drawing?
My older brother's the real artist. Actually, both. Man, my family's artistic. All of us. My dad can draw. My mom can draw. But my older brother's the best drawer. But for me, it's like, it's the diluted pieces, the confusing pieces, the Picasso, half this, half that, half chair, half man, half little things, little drawings like that since I was a kid.
Amazing.
Yeah, since I was a kid. So in my book, there's always little drawings of things and little quotes. And I kind of want to like share some stuff with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're open to some
I'm
pages.
totally open to it. Let's do it.
I'm just gonna scroll through here, and like I said, they're very little, right? Like I had, you know what? I have this one page in there, and it's the center of a poppy. Okay. I drew the center of a poppy. So the center of a poppy is just like little things, yellow things coming out of it. People have opened that page and fallen to tears. I don't get it. Some people open this and they're like, what the hell is this? Some people think it's an eyeball that's like zoomed in really. So it's really interpretational, and there's people that open it and they're like, holy shit, I see pain here. And it's funny that they see pain because what does the poppy represent? The fallen veterans, right?
Right,
so that literally is the pain. So like, very interesting art correlation that I didn't even try to make. You know, it just so happened. Let me find. I'm so weird about like sharing who I really am sometimes. You know?
I mean, I'm learning a ton.
That's what I'm saying.
Like for me, you were like the basketball playing fitness person, and that was it. I saw like the surface level. I had no idea you wrote, you drew.
Yes. Actually, you know what? Can I read you my piece on expectations?
Absolutely.
I think I read this in the clubhouse. Do you remember this?
I may not have been there for that one.
You may not have? Okay. So this is, mind you, it's not brilliant or anything, right? But this is a 21-year-old mindset, okay, writing about expectations. And this is kind of where my D1 experience or going JUCO D1 kind of just started. So that right now I'm in Texas. So about 2021, I'm right about in Texas, and I'm writing this because now my expectations of where I am, what I'm at have shifted entirely. So this is a little 20-year-old mind. Expectations, the silent killer that threatens the existence of happiness everywhere. Imaginary thoughts and standards set for all, hostages waiting to be. Without expectation, there is no hurt. It is our own thoughts and our own standards that make us so unhappy. If we are constantly molding ourselves around the idea of settling or accepting, we have already lost the battle. We began to change. Changing is followed by tainting almost immediately. We are tainted merely by everything that does or does not happen. Oh, how frail and sensitive we really are. Upon the torture of tainting, happiness falls off the spectrum. It simply becomes a thought that will never flourish. The achievement of it seems unrealistic. But it is we, it is you, and it is I that hold the imaginary gun to our head called expectations. We are suddenly made aware that we are in fact the holder and the beholder. It is too late now. We have become prisoners of our minds. We hold ourselves hostage. I versus I, yet somebody has to lose. Who do you choose?
How do you feel like now reading it out loud after...
Silly.
Silly?
Silly. Yeah.
Is it because you can't relate to that anymore, or is it because you've moved on from that so long ago?
Yeah, I just think like for me, this is an immature thought that I wouldn't have now. I judge myself very hard. I really do. If a 20-year-old showed me this right now, I would say, "Girl, you got it. Like you know what's up. You know what's going on. You're aware. You're ahead of your time."
Yeah.
I didn't know. So now when I look back at it, it's almost like silly to me to read it, but I know in the moment I thought it was beautiful.
I think in some sense, objectively speaking, that it still is, because at one point you did think that. But I want to thank you for sharing that, because it takes a lot. I mean, I've kind of like halfway written short stories, and I've never let a single soul see those besides me. So to open up like that and share that, right. I appreciate you.
What do you think about that piece?
To me, honestly, I was just kind of like, I was kind of smirking the whole time, because I could sort of see, without ever having known her, 21-year-old you battling with a lot of that going on.
Yes.
So that's how I saw it.
You saw it, yeah. And that was it. That's the see-through lens, right? The words is all we have sometimes. And I chose to share that with myself, and the only person that I would ever send my writings to is my cousin Andrea. That one. Who's
here sitting quietly, doing a lot of the production assistance.
I would send her all my journals and let her read through them. That was it. That's the only soul I ever shared any of my writings with. Yeah.
I hope one day everybody finds themselves an Andrea if they don't have one already.
Same. I'd be so lucky, dude.
And so now, kind of looking back, what advice do you have to the teenager, specifically who's playing hoops in high school and wants to keep playing in college?
Just see it through. See it through all the way. If that's what it is, if that is your goal and that is your passion, don't let anybody tell you you're too small. Don't let anybody tell you you ain't fast enough, you can't do it. I've heard that my entire career. I was the shortest player on every team I ever played for. I barely hit 5'6", 5'7" right now, so back then even smaller. So there's teams that I didn't make because of my height. I actually didn't make my national team, my Canadian national team. I was by far the best player there, and not by my opinion, by ESPN's opinion, by scales, by championships, by experience, by everything. I don't end up making this team. When I asked why, what can I do? So I wasn't even upset that I didn't make the team. I was just like, all right, tell me what I can do to improve so I can make it next year. That's the attitude that I came in with as a kid. Tell me what I can do so that next year I can make it. They said, well, we took the girl over you because she's taller than you. So she can just defend better, right? She's longer than you are. So I said, okay, so what can I work on? They're like, everyone can always work on their left hand. That was the thing that they gave me. Flash forward, 2 weeks, girl blows her knee out. They call me. Odette, we need you. Your time has come. I said, I haven't grown yet. And I hung up the phone. I did not play for my Canadian national team because you gave me something that would, if I was granted, I did take an opportunity away from myself there, but that was just for a child. You don't say that. I was smart enough to understand that this is something that I can work through and do whatever, but that's it. Never believe. If you believe it, all it takes is one. If you believe in you, see it through. See it through.
I always think of former Toronto Raptor great Vince Carter during an Olympic cycle, dunking on that 7-foot guy, like standing up and just jumping over him. And I'm like, that just proves height and size is not everything.
Thank you. Yes. For basketball, right, you always want height. You can't teach height. That's just a thing. Yeah. That's a thing. You can't teach height. But now if you got somebody who's just taller and isn't as good, but you're still on the team because you're taller, So, but yeah, that's the advice that I would give. I think they asked me that question in my senior exiting thing. I remember going there. My coaches would always razz me about how big my hair was. I have naturally big curly hair. Tame that thing. So my senior year, they asked me, what's one advice? I say, you show up you. If your hair is big and crazy, you make it bigger and crazier, and you show up the next day. That was
I love it.
Yeah, do not stray from who you are. Do not stray.
That's one of the coolest things I've experienced with just Assyrian women in general, and I guess even guys who have the curly hair is we've seen a renaissance in just letting the locks flow, Whereas I think in the 90s
yes.
everybody went with a straight Rachel from Friends hairdo, yes. And now everybody's back to just letting the curls bounce and letting the volume do its thing, and I'm here for it. I love it.
I'm with you on that.
So kind of similar to that, to the listeners who want to get in better shape, improve their health, but don't even know where to begin. What encouragement can you give them?
I will get into detail, but it's again that broad thing that I said earlier of just start, right? A lot of them are saying, I don't know where to start. You got to start somewhere. Go to the gym. That's a start. Read. That's a start. Just make that. Once you take that first initial step, my encouragement, my page, my everything is to push you to take that initial first step. When you take that step, you can be helped along the rest of the way, but you got to want it, right? I can't want you to get in shape more than you want to get in shape. So what I would tell them to do is literally get in touch, find their goals, write down your goals. Write down your goals. Don't even go to the gym. You want to get in shape? Write down your goals. Tell me what your goals are. Once we know what your goals are, that's when we can come to a time frame. That's when we know how to execute and plan to actually achieve, right? Because we get a lot of clients that say, I want to lose 60 pounds in 5 weeks. Come on, you need a doctor. You don't need a personal trainer, right? You need a surgeon. So it's just those kinds of things of be realistic with your goal setting, be kind to yourself, and just start. Start somewhere. If you don't know where to start, go for a walk. Don't know where to start, go for a walk. Don't know what to do, go run around with your kids. Take your dog for a walk. Just get active, get some steps in, and little by little, it'll come together.
Make a list and go for a walk. It doesn't get any easier than that if you're trying to start out. Lastly, we have a big audience out there Most of them are Assyrian, some are not, but I consider those people honorary Assyrians just for listening. What's something in general that you want to tell them?
There is two ways you can look at life. You can look at life as the victim or the culprit. And that goes for everything in life, including our health goals. When people say, I've gained so much weight, are you the victim or are you the culprit? Sometimes you're both. Sometimes you're one. Knowing where you lie in those two terms will make a lot of your decisions easier. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And if anybody wants to find you on TikTok or Instagram, who are they looking up?
Everything is just at Body by OD. So the word body by OD. Very simple. All platforms.
Odette, I want to thank you so much for making this happen. Ever since we met in Clubhouse, which, like, for all of you not familiar with it, listening at home, is an audio-only chatting app that we created. Well, not us. Stephanie, who we know and love, Sebi, those are two of the people that created the Assyrian Clubhouse, and it still goes on at least weekly.
Yeah.
I've been kind of out of the groove for that for a while, but ever since we met there and I became a little bit more familiar with your story, first of all, there's plenty of people in there I would love to have an hour to 2 hour long conversation with uninterrupted one-on-one. But I knew as soon as I learned about your story, just kind of on that surface level, just knowing the tiny things that I did know about you, I was like, man, it would be great to have her on the Assyrian podcast, and I'm so glad we made it happen. So thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy you had me in here, man. I have been wanting to bring in more Assyrian things to my channel, and we've actually had talks about this on Clubhouse in groups of Assyrians being supportive, non-supportive, and things like that, whereas I'm not speaking Assyrian on my channel. I'm not really making content. I'm making content for everyone, not specifically Assyrian people. So to get on there and just say a video in all Assyrian, like, it's really hard to kind of manage everything, but like, proudly love my fucking people, man. It's just that simple. That simple.
I love to hear it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
I wanted to thank everybody again for tuning in to another episode of the Assyrian Podcast. Remember to check us out on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And check out AssyrianPodcast.com to check out the shop, bios on all of us, and plenty of more information. And remember to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode of the Assyrian Podcast.